Hi guys, and welcome to the video. Hope you guys are doing well. This is a PvP BIS list for phase 6, and later in the video I will be going over potential BIS lists for phase 7. Also some exciting things to look forward to, and then not so much as well. But anyway, currently this is phase 6, and this is what I feel is the abyss list. Obviously this is just my opinion, don't shoot me. So the reason why I think this is currently the abyss healing pre-setup is because what this currently allows us to do is have penance on a 6-second cooldown. So we have the neck, the shoulder, the neck, the wrist, and the waist from the ZG set. These are not the strongest pieces in the world. It's a little bit sad because there is some really strong PvP items that we could use in place of this that would make us a lot more beefier. But there's a few reasons why I really like having this set bonus. Penance is one of our strongest single target heals. It works so well with Cassandra's Tome. That's one thing. But not only is it our strongest single target heal, but it's also a great mana saver as well. It's so much more efficient than using flash heal, and if we didn't have it up as often as we do, it would force us at times to have to use the flash heal, which is going to be more of a burden on our mana. So it's more for healing power and our mana pool as well. That's the reason why I like it, and would choose to have it over having beefier stats. We are wearing the PvP set still, of course. This makes us as chunky as possible, and Priest needs as much survivability as possible. We are wearing the PvP ring and back from STV, which I use 30 fire resistance on the back. The reason why I would choose 30 fire resistance over any of the other enchants in the game is that the fire resistance helps versus hunters, it helps versus shamans, it helps versus mages, it helps versus warlocks, it helps versus grenades. So I think there is such good use against multiple different classes. I think it's the best one to choose. Looking at the weapons, there is one other rivaling weapon that we could use, and that is the Setun Mace. It would provide us with more mana and more healing at the cost of stamina and crits. I think you could choose to go either and you'd be absolutely fine. They're both very, very, very good. But for me, survival is king, and stamina has a really high value in SoD, because when you do BTs and such, your HP is amplified by like 20 or 30%. I can't remember the exact number. It's one of those two. So that gives stamina, health, bigger value. So I would probably up for these two weapons, but if you feel like you don't need the extra survivability, feel free to go to Setun Mace. Essence Gatherer is a really, really good mace. Stamina, intellect, healing on it, perfect. Pure Adamantine Band, best ring, alongside the Blood Caked Band. If you really are someone that wants extra survivability, I suppose you could drop this. You could go for the spell damage blood cake ring if you wish. That is one option. The other potential alternative you could go, so here it is. If you do not care about the penance bonus, you could end up with something like this. Now, with the previous setup, we would have 1067 healing. With this setup, we have bumped up to just over 1100. But the invisible additions to the improvements here is that we've actually changed rings. Still the same amount of healing on this, but we have the 5 MP5, but obviously we have the time worn bonuses. So with using this ring, it means that we can go for the Grasp of the Old God, get that additional time worn, and then also on the bracers as well. So with this kit and with this setup, we've increased our health, and we've increased our healing, and then obviously we've increased our healing through time worn by 4%. So these bonuses and health, they do all add up quite nicely. Now, whether all these things equate to being better than a reduction on your penance, I'm not so sure. I don't think so. But each to their own. I'm just throwing this alternative out there for you guys, just in case if you are struggling for ideas. One thing I've not actually touched on yet for phase 6, the trinkets, is that I think by far and away Cassandra's Tome is the best one. But what other trinkets I could suggest is the following. So I would say Burrow's Shell for tankiness. Ruby Encrusted Brooch is also a nice option. Scarab Brooch is something that I've personally not used, but I think this would be pretty decent. Fetch Spikes is a worthy option, but there was something else that I was thinking that was yes, the ZG trinket. Not really something that I would use all the time, but most definitely situationally. Like one example I could think of this trinket being really worth using is like a AB fight at Blacksmith. The amount of healing potential with this trinket is absolutely huge. So that's something that you could be flexible with. I think the other slight alternative here is you could return to going to the Elementium Band, and then you could also switch your wrist and your belts for the more tanky alternative, which is this plus the other hardened item, battle hardened. There you go. So, whoa, holy crap. Holy crap. Yeah, let's have a look at our plus healing now. So, in comparison, we lose a little bit of healing, and we do not have the time worn bonuses, but we have managed to chunk up to 6.7k HP, which is absolutely fat for a priest. But we're definitely going to be suffering more on the healing front with this set. But like I said, it's just an alternative. This is for the chunky boys. The other alternative here was having more healing potential. And then obviously the first setup was probably, to me, is probably going to be kinder on your mana, and having penance up more often is to me very, very valuable. So we have some alternatives here, so feel free to pick and choose what you want, but I think those are some very good ideas. And now we're going to move on to, now just bear in mind that I think some of these items can be upgraded. They probably will be changed in some way. So all I can really do is go on based on what I can see here in the gear planner. So there's some things to be excited about, and then there's some things that is pretty dull. But the dull thing here is that we are still donning the PvP sets, all 6 pieces, still the best for survival. I really hope in some capacity they put out something new, something fresh for us, but I really just can't see that happening. Something a little bit more exciting is a potential new weapon. Now if I click on here, there is the Ariash Great Staff. Now I'm not going to be including this in this video just because I just don't have enough information. I have no idea if this is going to be a case of everybody's going to be walking around with a staff, or if it's going to be so rare it's probably not even worth mentioning. And then on top of that, I really just can't imagine guilds giving this staff to a healer of all roles. So I'm not going to include it, but we still have a very good alternative, and I kind of like the main hand in offhand thing. So the mace is very strong on the healing front, but the reason why I like the main hand and the offhand is the PvP bonus of damage reduction, which is crucial. Also, another thing that's being introduced in this phase is the enchants to offhand. These are the options. Without a doubt, the 9 intellect I think is the best for a priest. So that's cool. The Essence Gatherer is something that we get from BWL. From what I can see here and comparing to the other wands, it's still the best wand, but looking at a wand like the Whispering Dead, that doesn't seem up to date to me. So I think some things can get updated and it might change our choices. PvP Trinket, of course, and then in the other slot you can go a number of things. Cassandra's Tome is probably what I'm still primarily going to be using. The damage, the healing, and the critical, either offensively or healing wise, is always very nice to have. But some of the options that we have in this upcoming phase is the Eye of the Dead, really powering up your healing. Warmth of Forgiveness basically just gives you an entire mana pool back, which is absolutely crazy. And of course, something that I mentioned a little bit before, the Ruby Encrusted Brooch, but as a defensive option you have the Burrow's Shell. So obviously with Naxxramas coming up, we have tier 3 available to us. I've already kind of had a look at the slots, and I've already said that I want to maintain the PvP gear and be as tanky as possible. It makes sense for the tier 3 slots to take place of the ZG set. So obviously before I had the neck, the wrist, and the waist. Now we've replaced the wrist and the waist with tier 3. And as you can see on the set bonus, it says reduces penance by 25%. Standard penance 12 seconds. This will reduce it down to 9 seconds, which is kind of cool. The ZG set, if you remember, reduced the penance down to 6 seconds, which is pretty awesome. But the main reason why now, finally, I believe that we can forgo the really weak pieces of ZG is because of the introduction of a new shoulder enchant, and also because of the tier 3 bonus. So not only with this phase do we increase our stats, we get a nice juicy bonus. So with the new shoulder enchant, it means that we can get a bonus from a current set that is available to us. So what I'm thinking, okay, so we could in theory go 6-second penance on the shoulders, and have that in addition with the tier 3 bonus. That is something that we could choose, and something that's absolutely viable. And that would put our penance down to 4.5 seconds. But on paper it sounds good, but I don't think it's that great. I think with other heals such as palm and shields, sometimes it makes sense to make that more of a priority than the penance itself. So I'm kind of thinking we might not get full use of it being 4.5 seconds. So I have a different idea about how to play for things in phase 7. I'm thinking of going the power with shield bonus, which gives us 10% more to our shields. So currently, I think my shields do about 2,000, 2,100 in PvP gear. So that would approximately be about 200 extra shielding power, which adds up on multiple uses and for multiple friends. So I can see that being really valuable. And then still maintaining a reduction in penance to 9 seconds, which I think could be workable. So that's the exciting thing, I guess, for us, is that we're going to get an increase in stats because we don't need the ZG set anymore, get more powerful shields, and our penance cooldown isn't hurt too badly. So I can't really think of anything else I need to maybe touch. Oh, the shoulder enchant also I could touch on. Shoulder enchant, you have a couple of choices from Nax. You have 31 healing plus 5 MP5, or you can go for 16 stamina plus the 7 defense. I personally would opt for the stamina, just to be that little bit beefier. 6.5k as a priest is pretty good going, considering we have over 1100 healing at the same time. Mana pool is nothing to be scoffed at either. So yeah, this is what I would currently look at with what's currently available, I think, on the gear planner. Thank you for watching. Hope this was helpful in some way. Feel free to leave questions, comments down below.